Welcome back to the next episode of the Blue Collar Coach Soapbox, and we're here with Danny Crouch. Danny, great to see you again.
Good to see you, Matt.
Mate, I'm really excited to get into our chats today because in planning for this episode, you brought to my attention a stat that has grabbed you from a recent report you've seen that has a massive impact on the blue collar industry. And that's something that we're going to unpack today. And we're going to spend the next few episodes deep diving into this impact on the blue collar industry, on the employers, on the employees, and how it can be changed. So, for all of those that are listening along, and we've had a lovely audience that we're building, and thank you to all of our listeners, but make sure whilst you're here, hit that like button and subscribe so you get all of the new episodes as they drop and you can learn about this information that Danny has. So, Danny, let me hand over to you, and why don't you tell us what has caught your attention this week?
Yeah, absolutely. So the data and research company Gallup bring out a report every year, and quite often the statistics they bring out are on par generally. So we compare turnover and absenteeism in sort of the workplace industries and in Australia. And for the last couple of years, the national average of turnover has been around the 12 to 13%. And the turnover rate in blue-collar industries is more between the 19 to 26%. So about a 10% increase. That hasn't changed so much over the years. But what really blew me away is the research that they've done around programs like ours and what they do is that number can be reduced by up to 42%. Which to me is phenomenal. Why any company wouldn't be looking, regardless of whether you're in the national average or whether you're in the blue collar sector or above or below that average. 42%, that's amazing. A massive number.
Okay. Let me just grab that, Danny, and maybe you can explain this for me just a little bit more. So you're saying that the turnover in the blue collar industry averages between 19 and 26%.
Yeah.
And this can be reduced by 42%. So
Yes.
so just talk to me there. Okay, so the 42%, what does that look like?
Yeah, okay. I'll just give you a little bit of background around Gallup because some people may have heard of them, some may not. Most people recognize Gallup as they do the Gallup polls for the American political races and stuff like that. But they're an international company now. They started God knows how long ago, but 5-6 decades ago, a bloke by the name of Don Clifton, who was a psychologist, approached them to start researching companies, because obviously in the psychology world, you used to, you lie on a couch and you talk about your problems and what's wrong with you. He had a different theory. He thought, why aren't we researching the best of the best and identify what they do well? So Gallup took this and they run with it, and they've basically researched every sort of industry, every organization, every company, from the best to the worst. Anything employee-wise, they study their habits and who's employed, who leaves, why they leave, all these various statistics. Now, you could say, oh, of course, the data is going to be American-driven. Well, this report they write it for specific regions. So I only mainly focus on the Australian and New Zealand report, but they've got one for the UK, they've got one for the US, they've got one for the main part of Asia. So obviously for us being in Australia, predominantly we want to look at the statistics around the Australian population. So what they're suggesting, and they have a whole suite of tools and theories and content and resources and whatnot on how to help businesses and employees, and we utilize a lot of those tools as well. But where I'm most fascinated with Gallup is this robust research that they do. So they've obviously started out as a data and research company, and from that they've realized that there's need for professional development and business and consulting and stuff like that. So since researching all that sort of side of it, they've found that, okay, here's the problem over here, turnovers here, absenteeism here, in this sector, in this sector, in this sector. But if you start implementing these methods and tools and strategies, you can actually reduce these by up to 40-odd%. So basically what they're saying is companies, especially in Australia, I mean, you hear the American hype where they're all in a big auditorium cheering and high-fiving and doing all that sort of stuff. A lot of Aussies don't like that sort of stuff. So this stigma around professional development and improvement and stuff like that, it's sort of a tick and flick box sort of thing. And also that Australian attitude of, she'll be right. It is what it is. I even had someone who said to me, they're 10 points below the national average of turnover. And I thought, okay, well, is that a statistic, you as a CEO or a director or whatever, is that a statistic that you're just proud of because you're 10 points below? Or are you continuously looking to reduce that number? Because at the end of the day, the national average shouldn't really matter too much to you. It should matter to you that you are getting the most out of your company. So have they dropped it 42% in the last couple of years? I don't know. We didn't go that deep into that conversation. It was a Christmas chat, so it wasn't a business consulting chat. But yeah, I trust the Gallup research. So those figures obviously are alarming that, in the blue collar sector, turnovers, 10, 15% higher, it's pretty much double. But what I think is more impactful is the fact that you can reduce that, and the costs of turnover far outweigh what it would cost to bring people in to solve the problem that you've got.
And it's just fascinating that, to me, this seems as though it's one of the unspoken, or maybe the unknown problems within each blue collar industry's business. And that's what you're trying to raise awareness of out of this series.
Yeah.
So from our discussion, what you're planning on doing over the next few episodes is to identify what the issues are, deep dive into how to measure them and what the costs of those impacts are. You can implement new programs or training or approaches to turn that around. And some of the cost savings that you were telling me were just mind-blowing. I can't get my head around just some of the numbers that you were producing that is a outward cost of these industries because of these high numbers.
Existing, it's current. It's an existing cost, yeah.
Existing cost. And so these are the questions that you're asking. You're asking our blue collar industry listeners, do you know what these costs are? Do you have a measurement of these costs in your business at the moment?
Yeah.
So what I'm encouraging for any of our listeners here today is, wherever you're listening to this, drop into the comments below. Are you aware of it? Is it something that you're working on in your business? Is it something that you don't know how to work on or how to find? And maybe
I'll ask you what I see is a very basic question. Okay. So I'm not sure how up to speed you are with this, but if you're an employer and you're paying someone a salary, 9 to 5, 5 days a week, how many days a year do you think they work for you?
5 days a week, 9 to 5.
Yep.
How many days do you think they work for you?
Yeah.
So what are you allowing 4 weeks annual leave into that?
Yep.
So wouldn't it be 22 weeks? 48 weeks. I was working on fortnights then. 48 weeks.
So what's that? 748's 280 plus. What did I say?
Well, let's take off
304 days, right?
304, taking off any public holidays or so on. But you know what? I'm sure that our listeners' math is much better than mine. Yeah. So I'll
just tell you the answer.
You tell the answer, or should we leave the answer for the next episode? Should we get them to drop it into the comments and reveal the answer in the next episode? A little bit of a teaser to keep them coming back. Those that can't.
I'll tell you why this is important. Because when you say to someone as an employer, yeah, my average employee salary is $100,000 a year, do you know how much that is per day that they are actually working for your company? Because it's easy to say £100 a year. It's easy to say about $2,000 a week. But when you break it down to the per day, you get quite a shock as the difference of what you believe it is to what it actually is.
Well, that sounds like a perfect teaser for the next episode, Danny, because I know that your next topic is getting into what the actual cost is per business. So let's leave it there. If anybody can't wait to the next episode and they want to reach out and find out more information about how you can help, Danny, where can they find you?
Obviously on the website, chooseyourchapter.com.au, wherever they're watching this video, whether it's YouTube or LinkedIn or any other socials. You'll find me on LinkedIn mostly when it comes to socials, or check out email address on the website, and you'll get through to me. Or there's a couple of options there where you can book in a quick 15-minute discovery call. And if you've got some basic numbers on hand, I can actually run through the costs of your turnover in about 10, 15 minutes.
Okay, fantastic. Well, look, it sounds as though it's the internal problem that every blue collar industry needs to have a look at, and they need somebody like you to help them do so. So, Danny, thanks for bringing this to our attention. Looking forward to deep diving in over the next few episodes. And as for now, let's leave it there. Thank you, Danny, blue collar coach.
Yep.
Like I said, leave any comments in the section below. Like and subscribe. Follow along as Danny deep dives into the absenteeism and turnover of the blue collar industry. Thanks, Danny. We'll talk to you again soon.
I'll just leave the guests with one last thought. If you do want to read that report, it's called State of the Global Nation from Gallup. Google it. You can download the free report. It's well worth reading.